art, like the terms folk music and folklore, came into use in the last century and refers to the creations of people untrained in the academic traditions of art, people who are relatively isolated from centers of learning and commerce, and whose response is to the immediate world around them. Folk art is created by the members of a community or region, primarily to serve the needs of function, beauty, and spiritual nourishment. The folk artist uses what materials are readily available and expresses those feelings and beliefs that have meaning and significance within the community. The folk artist creates for his or her neighbor or for a community institution such as a church and must answer to that audience. In conforming to local tastes, the folk artist also creates those tastes. Hence, folk art usually does develop highly distinctive styles both in techniques and materials, as well as in conventions of pattern, composition, color, and representation. Yet, folk art, rather than being static, is frequently highly dynamic because it is usually the product of a single person. Often the entire process of creation, from producing and processing the raw materials to bestowing the final touches, is performed by that person. Each piece is a unique creation with its creator free to take advantage of small differences in materials, changes in physical abilities and skills, and above all, free to give new imaginative twists to old traditions. The technical skills used in creating folk art are widely shared in the community, for they are the needed skills of everyday life. Generally, they are learned by imitation and by apprenticeship and by self-discovery. In looking at the unique folk art that developed in the Spanish Southwest, we can see how it evolved from the historical circumstances of that society. The Hispanic people of the Southwest are the descendants of the Spanish colonists of the Old and New World. In the late 16th century, landed gentry and peasant alike made their way from Mexico up the Rio Grande River Valley to settle in what is now known as Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. Far from their government and source of material supplies, isolated from the cultural and spiritual support of Spain and Mexico, the people became almost entirely self-sufficient. They defended themselves and learned to use the land and its resources, growing their own food and making their everyday goods. They combined those ideas which they brought with them with the ideas they learned from the Pueblo Indians and their new environment, and developed their own unique style of artistic expression. They created things primarily for themselves, for their families and communities, things that reflected their lives, served their needs, and were resonant with meaning for them. It was not until the middle of the 19th century that the Hispanos dared to settle the area along the northernmost reaches of the Rio Grande River, known today as the San Luis Valley of Colorado. The valley is a flat basin bounded on three sides by high mountain ranges: the Sangre de Cristo to the east, the Sawatch Range to the north, and to the west, the San Juan, from which the Rio Grande flows, dividing the valley floor. While the Hispanos had explored, mined, and used the valley pastures for sheep grazing, nomadic Utes and Jicarilla Apaches had discouraged settlement until the time the area became part of the United States. As before, sheep raising was the economic mainstay of their lives. With the wool from their sheep on homemade looms, men and women fashioned material for clothing and blankets, and floor and wall coverings, creating fine textiles for domestic use and commercial trade. Finely spun wool was woven into a loose fabric called sabanilla, which the women densely embroidered with floral and geometric designs using a long stitch called the colcha stitch. The Hispanos had less than 30 years to establish themselves in the San Luis Valley before the discovery of gold and silver in nearby areas caused an influx of miners, homesteaders, and cattle ranchers from the east. They brought a new culture and language, different economic and legal systems. The establishment of trade routes and the railroad made machine-made goods available and attractive to the Hispanos, and these replaced handmade objects. While the Spanish language and the Hispanic culture were retained, the arts of weaving and colcha embroidery, along with other traditional arts, disappeared from the San Luis Valley. However, like women everywhere, Hispanic women continue to do handiwork, adopting the crafts of their Anglo neighbors. In the 1970s, weaving and a form of colcha embroidery were reintroduced into the valley as cottage industries. These textiles differ from the traditional crafts in that they are created more as objects of self-expression than function. There are two women who represent this revival. Epi Archuleta, who through the process of weaving lives her art, and Tiva Trujillo, who records her life and culture in visual histories of embroidered tapestries. Their art is a testament to their life's values.
Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted. Tengo un jamón de muy buen comer, lo tengo estampado ahí en la pared. Tengo un jamón de muy buen comer, lo tengo estampado ahí en la pared. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted. Tengo también una camisilla que no me ha quedado más de la letilla. Tengo también una camisilla que no me ha quedado más de la letilla. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted.
We used to have to work for the family, and we made our living by weaving, so we all have to do it. We had to. They made me do it. I didn't do it because I want to. But looks like it printed on my head pretty good. I love it now. I love weaving now. I just love to weave. I'm Epi Archuleta, and I was born in 1922, January 6, in Santa Cruz, New Mexico. I was raised in Medernales and lived there for about 30 years. Then I moved over here to San Luis Valley because of the work. I work in the fields and potatoes, and I work in the lettuce. When I moved to Capilene for the work of the kids, to help me on the farms and all to help their daddy. We all work there, and I had to go to teach them. That's why I went to work in the fields in the first place, to keep them together working and to teach them how to work, and they were very good. And we got our money there together, and we bought the place in Capilene with the field money. So now that they're big, we just give them back to them. All of them have their parts there. And they're very happy about it, you know. They work for it too. And when I was working on the fields, I always work at night and spin wool. I did work at night and weaving. There have been times that I just stay till the sun comes out. In the daytime, they always want to eat, they want to do things, the kids come, and every time they are hungry, so I have to go in the kitchen and cook or do something. And then at night, no, everybody's asleep, so I can weave all by myself. Nobody bothers me. So it's better to weave at night. When the boys were in the service, yeah, I was weaving. I weave all the time, but as I said, the weaving is to take so many things out of your mind. You just get so attached to that weaving that you want to weave all the time. I hate to get off the loom when I'm busy there. Then I got to the Virginia Nail Blue thing there, and they hired me to teach people there. I teach the first class. To be a weaver, you have to have a lot of patience to stay there. If you don't have it, don't even try it. There is 4 kinds of moves to make the weaving, basic ones. But from there, you can do very many out of it. And to do a good weaving, this warp has to be the exact, see, the same thing, and not one looser than the other one. And the loom's supposed to be good too, have to be straight and have to be working right, because if not, the weaving will come crooked too. They got pretty good, all of them. They're still going. I got my wool from the Sunless Valley. I go get the gray and the brown and the black. And I buy the wool in big quantities, so I just leave it out there on the sun and the wind, and God takes care of the cleaning. And then I spin and card the wool and dye it vegetable dye. I gather all the plants, mostly in New Mexico, because the plants have better colors, I think, because of the hot place there. I don't know why, but we get color out of it too. And at the same time that the weeds are boiling, I have this other wool over here in the mordant boiling too at the side. It had to be the same temperature. I boiled this thing already 2 hours. Now I have to boil them. I get another 2 to get the color in the wool. And sometimes I don't get it. I have to go over again if I don't get the color I want. I'm making a warp, and the warp is the more important part of the weaving. I don't mix them up so it won't get tangled when I put them on the loom. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, I want it, but one a different way than the other. When I'm talking, I forget, so I'll put a rock on top of the chair. If anybody don't know how to put a warp, they can't weave at all, because the warp is the more important part. You have to be straight, you have to be tight, the same, not part loose and part tight. My mother always weaved all the time. My father was a school teacher, and later on he was the postmaster there in Medonales. Yeah, my mother learned, I think she learned a lot from my great-grandparents and my grandparents. Then when he married my daddy, he was a weaver, professional already. So she went professional work, and he teach her more and more, so she got better all the time. And my daddy was from Chimayo, so these Chimayo blankets, we call them these are Chimayo styles, and we all learned from there. So I think our designs came way from there, and we still, even if we try to do something else, every time we get to that, because we learned it so long ago that we always go to the same design a little bit. We learn the Indian designs and the Spanish design, the chimayo, the colonials, they call them those striped ones. We know them all. We used to have to work for the family, and we made our living by weaving, so we all have to do it. We had to. They made me do it. I didn't do it because I want to. But looks like it printed on my head pretty good. But I love it now. I love weaving now. I just love to weave. As soon as we reached the loom, we started weaving because we were a big family. We were 10 of us. We had to help our daddy, so we all had to weave. Some of them get the wool ready, and the bigger ones we had to weave. And we worked in our farm too. We raised everything from our farm. We didn't have to go buy things from the store except our shoes. We raised all our food in the place. My mother's still doing it. And she's been weaving, she's still weaving. Can't live without weaving, she said. She got so good at it that she got the state award at New Mexico. Her weavings are very famous now, and she is too. One of my girls loved spin wool, but she don't weave. The other one's still weaving. The boys, 2 of them know how to weave. And my grandson weaves. He loves to weave. This one, he just loves to weave. He come and mess up there and make pieces there. Stripes and the little designs. They say maybe someday we'll keep on going like Grandma and you, they said. Good thing they learn. They're gonna like it later like I do. I was always put to myself. And we never went out with any boys. How do you like that? We never did. Only in church or on the dance. Quite a good thing to go to church to see the boys. They always go so the girls could see them and all that. And the dances sometimes, but that my daddy didn't let us even talk to a guy in a dance at all. Then my husband, I don't know how he thought about me. He said he was spotting me or something, that we were good girls. And I think we've been very happy. We've been married 40 years already. And I think what the wife has to do is keep your husband happy no matter what. They said we're supposed to have a good luck, but I think we have to make our good luck. We don't come along. We have to help. We're doing pretty good, and we have 10 children too. We lost 2 small ones. I've been very independent since I got married. I used to take care of the children all by myself and think about them. I dressed them. I made their own clothes and everything, sew for them. I decide if they need anything. I decide if we have to eat anything. I have to go get the groceries. Even the clothes for him, I used to get it myself. Everything, the bills, I had to do all that. All the time we spent raising that family and feeding that people, so we never went out at all. But now that we're senior citizens, we go to every activity they have. We know we'll go there for dances and parties and things. We're the best. We have first prizes on dancing. We do. Oh, we dance valses, jotes, polkas, and we dance the Varseliana, and then they play 2 steps and corridas, and we dance them all. Oh yes, we have a lot of friends, especially now with the senior citizens. They all are. And I always shy and quiet, and I never sing or nothing. I don't know, that's the way I was. Always. Till now that I'm old already, it's a difference, completely different we are. We both are different. Frank was the same thing. Now he had more time, I think. When he been working, I think he just got too tired and don't have time for anything, or he was always tired. Now he likes people and he likes to get out and everything. It's different now for both of us. I don't know why. Is it the years or is that the way it is when we get old? I don't know.
If you draw a picture of your own, the past, and that's what I've been doing. Every picture that I have drawn, it's my past, my life. You know, that's what it is, just my life. And it's a true picture, a real picture. They are true, and they were alive sometime, or once upon a time, you know. My name is Tiva Trujillo, and I was born in San Luis, Colorado, the year of 1917, and my father's name was Pedro Celestino Segura, and they had 12 children. He was a farmer, and after my mother died, you know, well, he kept on with the farm and the children. So then I married Paul, and we had our 3 girls. Pauline now is 38, and June is 32, and Hope is 17. My life has been a very happy life, you know, really and truly. It has been a very happy life. Been having a nice husband, and so far he has put up with me on everything. Especially now that he could work, you know, that I was working, he does everything. Yeah, everything he does. He knows how to cook, and he knows how to wash and iron. And he takes care of the house pretty good, you know. It happened that the way we finished the house was that he was still working in the lumber yard, you know, and hauling lumber yet. And all of a sudden, the saw got his hand. Then he stopped working about for 4 or 5 years until he was well. And then when we finished building our house, then, but he built it all with one hand too. We go half and half with everything, you know, that we have. And I think the girls were raised up real nice too. We like the valley very much. Well, this is where we have made our life, you know. And I have worked all my life, so that's why, you know, worked in the San Luis Valley and bordered, because it's an interesting place. In the cellars, I have worked about 9 years. But in the potato fields and harvest, I have worked all my life. Of course, you know, just the years that I was raising the children, you know, I stayed home. They grow wheat, potatoes, and a lot of vegetables, and they grow apples in the San Luis Valley. So they raise quite a bit of sheep there, too. There's so many things, you know, to see here in the San Luis Valley. Just like they say, the valley of milk and honey. It's really nice to stay in the valley, you know, because, like I said a while ago, we were raised in the valley. We made our living in the valley. All our friends were in the valley. And guess that's why we love the valley. Oh, the first time that I decided I was going to do embroidering, it didn't interest me a bit, but then when I saw those ladies from San Luis, those pictures, boy, I said, this is it. This is what I like. And I've been stuck with this work since a long time. We were called that day, you know, about 12 of us to go see what the lady had to say. That's when we first met Carmen Salas, you know. She gave us a 2-week training on our embroidery. And it was really exciting. Oh, she said, well, just do your own drawing. Do your own drawing and work on it. Well, what she said is, the picture, it's more important if you draw it and your own way, and it's a true picture, because nobody else will be able to draw what you draw. You're not copying or anything. It's just what you see. And she said, and draw your past, your present, what it's real. And we all keep on saying, we can't draw. We don't know how to draw. We're not going to do it. We don't. Oh, yes, she said, you can draw. And so she gave us a big pieces of material, to draw. And I said, I can't draw. I can't. And everybody said the same thing. I'm not an artist, though. I don't know how to draw, but I tried and tried, until I draw what I want to draw. And then after you draw them, bordering is not very hard to work on. I learned from Carmel all those stitches, and she taught us the names of them, but I forgot. There's so many. I learned about 25, but the most that I have put on my embroidery, it's 18. Every stitch has a different design, makes a different design. For instance, right now, I'm working on those adobe houses. Well, there is a stitch that it turns into a little tiny adobe. Well, to tell you the truth, I really don't know the name of the stitches, but I know what stitch to put on, on my embroideries. I don't know what's all about this Llorona, but I don't believe it. But I kind of thought it was kind of fun, to embroider her. And what the story says that the Llorona she was a pretty woman. Can't you see her on the first picture? It looks like it's pretty. And then in the second picture, it's ugly. Why she drowned her babies was because her husband was a mean husband to her. The story says that it's in the well, and some they say that it's in the river, but I draw her in the river. And then in the third picture, it's evil. It's scary. She wanted her children so bad, after she had drowned them, that's the reason they say she comes out in the night looking for her children. La Llorona means a lady that comes out crying, like when you cry, they call you Llorona, Llorona, So the mothers, when they hear this noise coming like wind or something like a woo, and they see, the ghost or something, they just take their children inside, or they're already in bed. But she only comes out in the night, around 11, something like that, I don't know if this is only on the Spanish people's believing, but in Mona Vista, I think they have heard her. If you draw a picture of your own, the past, and that's what I've been doing, every picture that I have drawn, it's my past, my life. That's what it is, just my life. And it's a true picture, a real picture. They are true, and they were alive sometime, once upon a time, Well, for instance, this one that I'm working on, it's about it's first year of school. In those days, the girls used to play basketball more than the boys, and the teacher used to be the coach, and the one that used to train the girls too, And that's my daddy's Model T, and I guess he was going to work, on his way to work, probably on his way to the hills to get some wood, because that was the road, and there's the bridge, and over here was the hills, where we used to bring our wood from, and we used to live right here, in this part over here, and he used to bring us into old Santa Casia for the school. He used to make us work, but he used to really have us spoiled. That's one thing. My daddy was always ready, to buy us our dresses. He used to buy us some tennis shoes, the good shoes for the dances and mass, and when we used to go to the movies, but then the tennis shoes were for the farm, you know, to go pick peas, hoe. So, like I said, my daddy was very strict, you know. He used to take us to dances and all over, but he was with us all the time. You know what I'm going to put over here now that I remember? One time my daddy was butchering a pig. They used to butcher a pig, and every time they used to kill a pig, all the neighbors used to get around. Everyone wanted a little bit of that pig. And this was a store, a little store, you know. But then they turned it into a dancing hall. So it was better to be turned into a dancing hall than a store, because we danced quite a bit after my brother's wedding, you know. It was a pretty good dance there. And this was my mother's cousins. They used to bake the bread in those ovens. I remember there's where they made bake the cakes and the pies and everything for my first brother's feast for his wedding, you know. Everything used to taste so good then. Yeah. This was an old lady. Her name was Juanita Mondragon. Yeah, she didn't have a husband. Something else had to be put in there. See, probably some other ladies talking to her or something. Yeah, those were the cattle. They look like sheep, no, but they're cattle. This lady over here was the one, you know, that used to deliver my mother's babies. Let's see about this neighbor. Well, the lady that used to live in this house, she was the one that gave me lessons for Holy Communion. And this church, you know, it was pretty old then. My mother was buried over here, right by the door of the church. My mother taught us to embroider. It was embroidering and sewing, and what she taught us was how to make wool mattresses. Yeah, well, that was the most important thing for us to learn. And these people, let's see, we used to come and play with these people over here with these girls. They didn't have a mother either, so we used to come and play with them. You know, as to think of yourself as a child, you know, on your childhood places, you know, that's something to think about. You know, now that you're getting old, you know, when you go to your childhood or to your past, you think about everything, you know, it's nice. And that's why I love to draw. I like to draw my own tangles, embroider my own tangles. So I really and truly don't know if it's 4 years that we've been working on this art craft. But I don't have any intentions on quitting unless something happens, you know. So, yes, I'll just keep on. This has been something real nice for me to work on, you know. It's hard, but it's nice. It's proud.
Apunti usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunti usted. Apunti usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunti usted. Tengo un jamón de muy buen comer, lo tengo estampado ahí en la pared. Tengo un jamón de muy buen comer, lo tengo estampado ahí en la pared. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted. Tengo también una camisilla que no me ha quedado más de la letilla. Tengo también una camisilla que no me ha quedado más de la letilla. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted. Tengo un sombrero de pelo de conejo que no me ha quedado más del barbiquejo. Tengo un sombrero de pelo de conejo que no me ha quedado más del barbiquejo. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted. Este es el fin de mi testamento, se lo dejo todo al ayuntamiento. Este es el fin de mi testamento, se lo dejo todo al ayuntamiento. Apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted, señor escribano, la pluma en la mano y apunte usted.